And we're live. I think we're live. Hello everybody. How you doing, bros and sisters? Whoever you are. It's nice to see you all again. It's been a while since the last video, and I can explain that. Firstly, I was working a lot, and there's an update on that, as you can see in the title. And also, I was really tired yesterday. For some real reason, I was so tired. I mean, I only had 3 hours sleep, but usually I can last 3 hours. But Jesus Christ, I slept so long last night, and then today I even slept quite a while, longer than I actually really intended to. I should really have got a cup of tea as fast as possible. But regardless, I am back. Now, I'll go through the updates first, and so they're actually kind of important because it kind of impacts the channel, not negatively in any way whatsoever. And it's this: I've got a new job, and I'm also going back to university. I think people knew about the latter bit, that I'm going back to uni, doing my masters, but also I've got a new job, and that's going to be much better in terms of content, because I can make more of it because I'm doing different hours. It depends largely on my university schedule as well, but on the whole, much better life balance at the moment, so you should be seeing more content, hopefully. It's definitely a higher chance of that happening. You'll see less breaks in between videos, but to be fair, the other video that I released about Kraut, I think a good break in between that was necessary because it was such a popular video. And they do say to kind of give them breaks, and I think that video's now run its cycle because it would have just got in the way of any video I made after the fact. So now I think is a good time to make new content, I think. I will be working tomorrow, just so you know, guys, but there will be hopefully a video. And meanwhile in Britain, it's definitely happening as well. It's just that I've been so busy, you know, sorting things out in my personal life, things like that, that you know, I just didn't have time to look up all the stories. I've got a few stories obviously in my mind, like what Theresa May's been up to, things like that. I'll be reading up on that and giving my take on it in the way that I usually do on that type of video. So finally started doing gay porn. Why not straight porn? Can't I make it there? Can't I be like the little guy who makes it big or something? I don't know how that works, but I don't know. And I am doing fine, John, and hopefully Carlos is doing well too. I have a degree, I do, in history. Nearly dead computer. Mine's okay. I think I just need to clean it and put some more RAM in it. I've got like 4 gigabytes of extra RAM that I could put into it, which I should have left in actually, but it doesn't really matter. I am not a twink. Get fucked. So anyway, there's the updates really that I can think of that impact the channel. Thankfully, it's not negative, at least as far as I know, and we should be seeing some good content hopefully in the near future. Now, on with my hot takes. Now, there's only one thing that happened recently that I can think of. Oh, well, there is Lindsay Shepherd, but I'd like to make a video on that first, but I might as well give you my simplified version of events on that. I mean, opinion on that. But let's just talk about the Ralph thing that's happened, you know, Ralph Retort. Now, Free Press of Kekistan sent me that on Skype. He said that, you know, you should check that out. You should check this out. Look what David Shitrat's saying. And I'm like, well, he didn't say Shitrat, he said Shitrat, but I think was I drunk when I saw that? Or was that the day before I went? Oh wait, was it an hour before I went out? But I was interested in what was happening, because apparently a lot of Matt's fans have been allegedly engaging in false flagging, right? That's what the accusation is. And he's been accused of, I don't know, either being indirectly involved or directly involved or both. And I had a look at David Shitrat's damning evidence. And I talked to a few people as well, trustworthy people, at least more trustworthy than David. And I can't help but feel maybe they jumped the gun on this. And I don't think it's worth a video, to be honest. I really don't. And I know, me saying that, right? But it's true. Look, I read through all the evidence that David has, and I would say 90% of those posts were memes, poor attempts at jokes, and because you know that lot think they're really funny, so it's only natural that they would push the bar to the point that people might not know if they're joking or not. because they don't actually know how to do it properly. That's my opinion. We have differences of opinion on what makes a good joke, but whatever. So I read through it, and there's like 2 people who could reasonably be accused of that. But even then, you won't be able to prove that they've actually flagged anybody, because they'll just deny it, I think. When push comes to shove, I think those people would deny it. And you would never be able to prove it unless you go through their reporting history. But the only people who can bring that up is them, I think, through that YouTube link that they did with Monday Matt. I don't think anybody's going to get those essentially nobodies onto a stream and to bring up the history. I mean, they could easily, by the time you get them on there, have scrubbed all the reporting history. And then I noticed somebody said that on my Kraut video, we did it, boys, we got him. And it gives me reason to believe that that's like a meme that they've either made up or is based on something that somebody may have said. I don't know. It was literally all memes, and like one of the big things, some of the centre pieces of evidence that David had was that guy who he was spamming, and I'm like, have you been on Discord servers, David, properly? And I don't mean just the odd one, like Kraut's. Like, you do know that spamming in Discord servers like that, where it's meme heavy, is a type of shit posting. They're not actually being serious. And then the same guy later on claims to have flagged the whole channel of Monday Matt's channel, and it's like, no, he's obviously bullshitting. And there was one guy who was like being big, like Billy Big Bollocks, and like, oh, I did this, days, and claiming he's done all these things, and he didn't. It's obvious that he didn't. He's either memeing or just trying to look tough. I mean, let's be fair. People trying to look tough. I mean, I guess kind of like Misery, they like each other's company. I don't know, but yeah, there's nothing there that I can say for certain that it did indeed happen. And don't get me wrong, I would like to believe some of these people. I would like to believe them, but I just don't. There's nothing there for me yet. There's no concrete evidence. It's just people, for the most part, shitposting, and 2 likely people. But even then, they might not have done anything. It's just like SFO, Short Fat Attaku and V. They jumped the gun, and they took David Sherratt seriously. Like, why would you take David seriously these days? The guy's an idiot. He literally will take things like that and print them and like take it as true that this is indeed some kind of false flagging operation happening in Ralph's server. And I actually went into Ralph's server to have a look for myself, and this was when I was drunk and didn't know where to look, and like, from what I could gather, I saw nothing. And when I finally found all these messages people run about and I got to read them today, how does this prove anything? Jesus Christ, Carlos, behave. This is a family show. But I feel for you, bro. But anyway, like, David Sherratt, and then V deleted his video. And another thing, in that video, this is when I started to think things may have been, taken a bit too far already. And it was this. True Dill Tom was quoted. Now, people have known that I've chatted to True Deal Tom on this channel, on the podcast, which is still going, by the way. I just need to get a load of people ready and willing to come on, which I will eventually. I think I'm going to go pre-recorded because it's easier than live streaming at this point, just to enable to get it out. But like, they've quoted True Deal Tom saying, I think we just flag Kraut because I was listed as one of the channels that he was going to target. Oh no, it was like either justified reason for harassment or something like that. But regardless, he was memeing. And I thought, that's not what True Deal Tom actually is like. I knew that for a fact. Like, seriously. Wow. I like how in the chat, you guys are talking about older chicks and like fucking, and I'm talking about drama. Yeah, I don't... Again, to expand on what Carlos just said about Ethan being genuine, this is, as far as I know, not part of his MO, and I know a little bit about Ethan. It seems to me that if this shit did actually happen, he would not be involved, but he would probably not do anything to stop it, to be fair, from what I've seen. Because when I made those 2 videos about him, he did exactly what I just mentioned. He either enabled these people to do what they did, or just didn't bother. You know what I mean? I know, Black Lord, like, it's an interesting conversation, but I've never seen him be personally involved in flagging either. Like, that's just not something that's ever been brought up. Like, he's done loads of things, good and bad, and flagging has never been one of them. Now, maybe he's actually flagged videos that deserve flagging, in which case you can't criticise him on that. Why would you? And in fact, there was one screenshot, which had nothing to do with Ralph. Again, it was one of his fans. They were talking about the alternative hypothesis, and they said, you know, he has a second Patreon, and wasn't the other one deleted? So isn't that Patreon? It's just ban evading, isn't it? So I thought, how is that in any way a false flagging thing if that is true? Then surely that's them going by Patreon's rules. That's actually a good thing, right? I'm just saying, I don't think he should be flagged, but, like, I'm not saying he should be, but it's like, that's not false flagging then, if that is true. And wouldn't that benefit David, because he's a progressive now, and the alt-right are his mortal enemies, and alternative hypothesis is alt-right? I don't know. I suppose he's trying to look like he's a genuine person who cares about alt-hype's income, which I doubt he actually does, which is why I questioned why he put that in the first place, you know? But again, it's probably David just being an idiot. Yeah, we'll talk about Ralph Autist. I just thought I'd give my hot take. It's not what you think. It's not what you think at all. I really just don't think there's anything in what I've seen that suggests that there's a false flagging operation going on. At least not yet. Look, I've talked to people who are trustworthy. I've not talked to David because I don't trust him at all. Why would I talk to him? You know, I don't think he'd give me time of day. But I just don't see it. There's nothing there. Yeah, they jumped the gun. Exactly, Autist. And I think people wanted me to jump the gun as well, or at the very least give my hot take, but I wasn't in the state to do that. But now I am, and I've read it. I mean, even before I read all the messages, I knew something wasn't right. Because, as I've always said, if you're going to go and ruin a person, at least ruin them for the right reasons and have everything that you possibly have to back that shit up, you know? I'm not just going to sit here and jump on a bandwagon and go, fuck Ralph, you know? At least when I made my video on Mundane Matt, we had evidence that he is a false flagger. I think people just really want, like, the people who criticised Mundane Matt, rightfully, they did criticise him rightfully, but they also want some of those people to be implicated in that shit as well, because it would be full circle. It would be, like, horseshoe theory. And don't get me wrong, there's probably people like that in those groups, but at the moment, they've not been exposed. Dat boy spits poison darts without proof. Yeah, he does that. He does spit poison darts without proof, but he's not false flagged anybody, as far as I know. Lacey Green wants my hot take. Oh, do you mean on her opinions on gender? She's flat out wrong, and I think Chris Raygun needs to pump her full of red pills again, if you know what I mean. But I'm trying to think of other things to say about the Ralph thing. Oh, another thing was David was playing right into their hands. Now, I've not seen the kill stream, which involved V, okay? So I'm not going to talk about that. I don't think I even need to see it, because it's pretty clear from the fallout that with V deleting tweets and videos that he fucked up. And it doesn't surprise me that V would fuck up, because he's been hard to watch recently, mainly because of the reliance on streams. Read your comment. David's progressive, but not. Yeah, I know, J-Will. Don't worry, I agree with you. I don't need to read it to agree with you. Don't worry about it. Well, I did read it, but I just didn't read it out. But what was the point I was making? Yeah, they were playing right into their hands. So there was one guy who was basically posting shit to get David's attention, and he did. He completely got their attention by just posting something that they would be on the lookout for. And it says, "Ha, you played right into our hands. We're having a laugh on the Discord server." And it's like, of course they are. David, have you learnt nothing? Have you learnt nothing? This is what they're good at. They're good at getting reactions out of people. This is what they've always done for years. Like, I would not, like, jump the gun and go, see, it is happening. They're actually saying it's happening when they're not. They're literally posting shit out there and seeing who bites the bait, you know? V hasn't been the same since his persuasion role was denied. But, yeah, that's about it. Ralph's not done anything wrong that we know of. I mean, I'm sure if people like The Guardian have further evidence that can implicate his fans in actually false flagging people, maybe. But here's who I think's doing it. I don't think any of the major players in this are actually involved in the flagging, apart from Monday Matt flagging people he doesn't like, okay? It's obviously people from 4chan and 8chan and places like that. The third-party trolls. The people who see the culture war as one big joke, right? Who think like, oh, you know, all these idiots, these lolcows fighting each other. Let's stir the pot and make them fight each other even more. That'll be a great laugh. We all know the types. We know they exist. So they're obviously just going to false flag all these videos, and then people are going to overreact and blame the wrong people, and these third-party trolls basically get their 5 minutes of laughter, and they'll probably move on to another group. Warski lost his mind a long time ago, Joe. He lost his mind the moment he stepped into the Blood Sports arena. Let me just fix this angle slightly, guys. Thank you. Oh, I need a little bit more. Fuck it. It was fine as it was. Whatever. Like, he lost his mind ages ago. I used to like him, but I lost respect. I just hope that, you know, maybe he's now playing a role, like a character, but I doubt it. But nothing's going to happen to Warski. He'll just continue to decline. But yeah, changes content up. That can only be, if it's good, it's good, and I need to check it out. I can't pass judgment on it, I guess. Maybe I already did, but you did miss my take, Johnny. But I'll give you the TLDR. As far as I know, Ralph has done nothing. As far as I know, his fans haven't done anything. V and Spino jumped the gun. Oh, and Shot Fat Attaku. This is why I always try to tell people, don't jump the gun, verify shit before you jump in, you know. Alright, and then there was Lindsay Shepherd. That was funny. That was some funny shit posting that happened after she decided to go complete retard and say that I don't like men who watch pornography because pornography equals bad. You know, any amount of pornography is bad, apparently. And then Louis Laveau was like saying, well, you're not going to get laid or have a family by the time you're 30. So who do I reckon would be next on the anti-HWB side to get owned? Well, let's be fair, Otis. I'm not trying to say that they're not anti-HWB, but people like Monday Matt and Jeff Holiday and people like that, I've kind of been moving away from that for a while. I mean, Monday Matt only talks about that shit because it's in the news, and that's what he wants to be. He wants to be like an online news pundit, like Philly D. That's what he wants to be, but he's nowhere near as good, you know. And Philly D has his issues. Don't get me wrong, but that's what he wants to be. That's why he still does that content. But who's going to be owned? Well, they've kind of gone through the bottom of the barrel now, haven't they? You know, the worst people. I can't see anybody else because everybody else that is left aren't as fucking stupid, you know, or don't make as much mistakes as V, because V hasn't been owned necessarily. He's not been damaged. Neither Shot Fat Attacker, because they make good content, you know. Well, V, you know, he's not been as good as he could be recently, but you know, once he starts making good content again, I'll watch him. Like Thunderfoot is still, yeah, exactly, Black Lord. Like, as I said, like most of them are barely anti-HWB at this point, or have completely switched. You know, some of them are trying very hard to make alt-centrism a thing. Like, I really don't like that. But Matt has a charisma of a prick. Wow, I mean, that's giving him too much credit. Being anti anything doesn't mean necessarily agree with other people who pose the same thing. Exactly, as well. Yeah, Top Hat is a wanker, but his wife is lovely. Like, his wife is genuinely one of the nicest people I've seen on the internet. He's the complete opposite, at least on the internet. I'm sure he's actually a very lovely person in real life, but he's such a moron. Like, banning people for quoting anime and shit on his streams. That actually happened to me. I did it for a laugh because I thought people were taking the piss, or he was taking the piss, but he wasn't. He was serious. I'm like, well, I'm not watching your content again. And I haven't. Not watched him since. Complete tool. What would you expect from a German? Why do I think they're switching? I think it's a combination of Trump derangement syndrome. Some of them have become successful off the back of that, and now think that they can somehow stake a claim as being YouTube mainstream royalty or something. Like, you know, Jeff Holiday, people like that. That they're above it now. Like, the culture war is just something they used to get popular, or made them popular. Like, maybe they cared at one point, but they don't care anymore for various reasons. Or they've come through some kind of weird philosophical change and are now reverted back to what they used to be. Like, well, I can't say that Spino was at any point in SCW before he became one again, but I don't know. What's your take on the Lewis versus Louis pronunciation debacle? Well, whatever he says his name is, I'll say his name is. So he used to say Lewis, now he says Louis. So I think he's trolling us, but let's just go along with him, shall we, guys? Yeah, well, Top Hats would be far more respected if he wasn't such a dick, you know? Well, you can be a dick, you've got to be a lovable dickhead, you know? You can't just be a dickhead for the sake of being a dickhead, you know? And yeah, she's lovely. She's like, she's just so nice. Anyway, the alt-right talking points are wearing thin, even JF. Yeah, well, JF didn't start off that way anyway, so he kind of doesn't need to broaden his scope, you know? Yeah, go on his like hitbox streams or wherever he streams nowadays, and say something vaguely anime-ish. You'll get banned. Like, I think it's an automated bot thing. Oh yeah, there are people who got big off the 2016 election, but there are people who got big before then who are more. They are mostly on the left side of things. You know, Rip Louis. Pronunciation is cultural. Maria Sharapova pronounces her own name differently. Well, yeah, of course she does. But she pronounces it the correct way. We don't, but whatever, you know, as long as it's reasonable. I mean, people don't say my name properly. I don't give a shit. Yeah, they do. People do remove their videos without much of a reason. Like, Colossus Crazy has done that a few times. But, yeah, a lot of people are trying to become mainstream, or they now think that because Trump is in power, that the right has regained power and like full control over American society. And it's like, it's not true. I mean, fuck. Look who's in power in Britain right now. Excuse me, guys. Got a niggling cough. Like, the Conservative Party has been in power for 8 years. SJWs have still managed to gain a foothold even in their party. And let's be fair, economically they're still right-wing, but socially they've gone social justice. Which is why the whole high Tory gang thing exists, you know. Can pure confirmation bias content support a channel long term? Yeah, I mean, it's worked for ContraPoints and all those other people. Because again, after the election, when there once was probably a bit more of a united front against the SJWs, it's now been split. Now, I think originally it was like the more extreme versions of the right split off, and that's fair enough. Those guys were never going to stick around anyway, and I don't think anybody really wanted to be on the same side as them. But you know, whatever. No, they don't have full power, Jay Will. They control the Senate and the government, but they're not doing anything in terms of like what they're doing in society. Like Lewis said, they'll get in power, then they'll just cook themselves. That's what they've done, and that's what they've done in Britain, and they've done in other countries in Europe. Like, they've done nothing to fix the universities or the press or anything. I mean, let's be fair, the international conservatives have more to gain from SJWs than they do attacking SJWs. Exactly, Black Lord, you know? But anyway, where was I before, guys? Oh yeah, there was a split. There's been another split, and this time it's with the more left-wing people than those people who more converge on the centre. So you still have the right centrists and the left centrists in like an alliance. Although you shouldn't really call them centrists, because they're not. They're just more centre than they are right or left, if you know what I mean. And so the people who are always a bit more bleeding heart than others have got Trump derangement syndrome, or have decided that this is the new enemy now, when nothing has actually really changed. And as I've always said, it's going to take at least 10 to at most 25 years to really uproot the cancer in society. And then we're probably going to have to deal with the next threat that's going to embed itself. Alright, this is a never-ending struggle to get to some semblance of sanity, guys, you know? I don't think any of us will live to see the day when proper extremism is finally gone. But will it be gone? I don't know. I don't know if it was quotes or anything autist. It was anything to do with anime. I remember I tested it and I got banned from... I don't know if it was a permanent ban or just a ban for that particular stream, but that's what happened. And I was just like, well, fuck this guy. Also, Susan May is a demon from hell who deserves to suffer. Ah, come on. She's a fucking meme. Ah, the bloody... I hate bloody autofocus. Let me sort that out. My Logitech just does not save my settings when it comes to that. Hang on, guys. But yeah, this fight is not over. And what I do find is funny and totally ironic is like Ralph's fans making like memes about gamers rise up and things like that. And it's like, the only reason why he is where he is because of Gamergate. And if it wasn't for the fact that he made these connections during Gamergate, you know, with people like MITCH and shit like that, if what had happened, you know, going to jail and shit like that, he'd be finished. But because he has connections who we can ride coattails off of, he's okay. And that's all down to Gamergate, you know. But now you see people from the left and the right now mocking Gamergate, where none of these people would be anywhere where they are now without it. And I think that just shows what these people really are like. Nothing more than opportunists, and it goes both ways, you know. None of them are really interested in the issues. You know, I had people say that I wasn't interested in the issues. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. But I'm still here. I'm still doing like content on the shit that actually matters. Or at least matters to me. I'll grant you that. She's worse than Merkel, Jay Will. Worse than Merkel. Okay. Yeah, Howard Dean, yeah, whatever. You know. Let him say it. Let him say that. He's an idiot. It's just projection, because they themselves are mental. You gotta remember that. A lot of it's projection. Like, I guess I can talk about the Kraut video now that it's kind of subsided a little bit. But a lot of the comments I got were of that ilk, like he described. Like, oh, you just don't understand. Kraut is not the one who's crazy and deluded. It's people like Aiden Paladin and Edgy Sphinx and all those other people. And it's like, do you not understand what you've just done? You're basically ascribing what Kraut actually has done, or what he actually is like, onto these people. Now, don't get me wrong. Maybe Raven Ruin is like that, you know? I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a liar. And he is somebody who thinks he's some kind of infiltrator who's going to, like, change people's minds, you know, which he didn't. But, oh yeah, Crotch Channel's back. Good that it's back. He can embarrass himself again. And not take anybody's advice. I mean, shit, you know who I didn't realise was a victim of him? Like, indirectly? Oh, well, no, directly almost. Wizard of Cause. Wizard of Cause, who was in that server but didn't do anything. Like, he wasn't involved in any of the shit that Kraut got involved in. He literally was in there because he was invited, like a lot of people were. And he was like, oh, is this a Discord server that I can talk to people in? And then, next thing you know, he gets like, grouped in with that lot, even though he didn't do any of the shit that they did. And he loses like a third of his fucking income. putting him almost close to the fucking poverty line, if not in poverty. He's got a kid to support, and he's a single dad. He isn't in a 2-parent family. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, the mother is in the kid's life, but is she going to give him money? Probably not. But, he had to rely on charity from people, and he hated that. He's not the kind of guy who wants to, have shit like that. And he hates Kraut now. Like, I don't know if anybody saw his Twitter, but he was literally giving David Sherratt, like, fucking shit. Because David Sherratt was like, don't you understand? You were with us. It's like, I was not fucking with you, you arsehole. I'm like, shit, wizard. Whoa. He's already dead. Yeah, and then to get back on that anyway, they were basically saying that Aiden Paladin, guys, right? Aiden fucking Paladin is some kind of evil, conniving manipulator. When, if anybody knows anything about her, she's barely sociable, okay? Now, what I mean is this. She barely has any social skills. Because she's so autistic. She's worse than me, right? She's worse on the spectrum than I am, alright? I mean, I remember, did she public with this story? When she first met Ad Bastard, like, he literally said, stop being autistic and come kiss me. Because it was obvious they were into each other. So, hey, it's a nothing story anyway, but that's how autistic she is. And this is a person who's apparently, they called her a chameleon, a liar, shit like that. And it's like, this is a person who's a master manipulator who blackmailed Kraut. Right, okay. This is the type of person who can do that, okay. Look, she's academically smart and brilliant, okay. On the whole, she is just smart, but she lacks in the social thing, as a lot of autistic people do. And that's not a bad thing, actually, really. Like, I can't believe they're saying that kind of person could do that shit. When really, the person who was a backstabber, I mean, he didn't blackmail, but he certainly did a lot of the other things, was him, Kraut. Like, how is Aiden the chameleon? He did all that shit behind her back. Fucking boggles the mind, guys. Boggles the mind. I honestly do not understand where they're coming from. I don't know why he hates Aiden. She did nothing to him. Like, I don't know. I don't know what she did to him. She did nothing. He started it. He was the one who compiled her docs, intending on using it against her because she was friends with people that he didn't like. And that's another problem with her as well, is that she sees the good in loads of people. Now, I saw the good in Kraut, to be fair, and I still hope that it is just a horrible phase he's going through, and he's going through some kind of mental breakdown, but, she does see the good in people like Coach Red Pill, and it's like, there isn't much there, but she sees it because she's very trusting. She's not somebody cynical like I am, and I don't automatically trust people, I got bullied a lot. I'm not going to fucking trust people. Or like, I've been betrayed online multiple times. I'm not going to fucking trust people right off the bat, but she is just like that. She makes friends with people. It's weird. It's like, she's not so socially bad that she can't make friends, but she's also kind of naive, if you know what I mean. So she's making friends with people that she probably would be best not being friends with, because it can work. Either they will do something against her, or it will get her into shit because people like to use guilt by association. But yeah, I guess they will flip-flop on it because they ultimately aren't really the same people and agree on the same things. But why is he... But again, to me it's this. The way I see their relationship is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Which is completely crazy because I thought Kraut was never going to associate with him again. So it's interesting that he's basically gone, fuck my principles, fuck all the things I've said, I'm going to do a 180 flip. I hate that shit, and fucking Spinal did the same thing. It makes you wonder, what do these people actually believe? I don't know. I hate that shit, man. And like, I just don't understand. Drove Rage after... I still don't know about the Rage After Storm thing. She didn't actually have to run away. I still think that was entirely down to her. She couldn't take the shit. She couldn't handle the internet. Like, don't get me wrong, what he did with her in terms of her job, that was fucked up. Like, he went after her job, and like, he shouldn't be fucking doing that. Why did he do that? I mean, to be fair, I think who she worked with, you know, UKippers or Kippers, whatever they're called, I think they'd already kind of sussed out she was not what they wanted. She was clearly a fucking idiot, an alt-right idiot, and they don't like that type there. And she was probably going to get sacked eventually, but that doesn't excuse what he did, you know? I mean, he gathered info on loads of people. And he did throw Liz Reptile and Zeffie under the bus, but don't get me wrong, they were part of that too. They're not suddenly victims now because he threw them under the bus to save himself. You know, they would do the exact same thing to him. And like, but like, I hope Aiden does learn to like pick her friends, you know. I don't know. I'm only saying it publicly to benefit her, you know. She knows that. She knows that I care. But yeah. It's amazing how Kraut just... As for his ex, which ex? Is it the crazy one? Palindrome? I wouldn't trust anything she says, to be fair. Could have been both were fighting each other. I think that's more probable. It might... I don't know. It might have been justified, but... I don't know. It's still kind of scummy, you know. I personally would not have done it. Oh yeah, and another thing that happened, guys. I got accused of being part of a group of people that flagged Irate Bear on it. It was just one lone comment. Don't worry, it's no big deal. And I'm like, does this guy know who I am? I mean, I'm not saying that as an ego thing. Like, does he know that me and Alex are friends, right? We've met each other in real life. I would not flag him. I couldn't bring myself to flag anybody that I used to be friends with, to be fair. I couldn't even flag David. I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy. You know? I mean, that might change in the future, but I don't know. Like, people have actually uploaded my content without my permission, like the Skeptic Feminist once, but I didn't flag him. I just said, guys, you can't do that. It's going to bite you in the ass one day, and I think it did, actually. Artist Whisperer. Yeah, they are innocent, shows been... Yeah, exactly. But I think they're all like that. They're all toxic, apart from a few other people in that server who either weren't involved, really, or just, like, were led astray. I hope some of them were led astray, you know. Yeah, Crack can't be completely bad. But it's like, he's not doing himself any favours. And then, like, there were some people in there, in that server, who may not have done anything wrong, but they're certainly part of the people that we've been talking about, the type of people who are suddenly looking down on the culture warriors, you know, like Bunty King's another one of those guys who wishes alt-centrism was real. I don't understand why people like him. What does he... Well, he has nothing to contribute. What does he actually do? What has he actually said? Like, he said some things that other people have said before that is great, and because he's popular, and I guess he's kind of... Well, he was likeable at some point, that somehow this makes him, like, relevant? Look, he's not fucking relevant to any of this shit. Like, I kind of view him in a similar way to Competing Forever. I always thought Competing Forever was somebody who jumped on the bandwagon. And I think you can't... I think there was more there was evidence for that when he attacked Sargon for, like, being a Marxist. The guy doesn't know what he's on about half the time. He should have stuck to, like, reviewing tech. That's what he's good at. I remember when Edgy said that people would just talk about drama instead of actual important things. Yeah, well, you know, it's his own fault. He does that as well. He literally does that as well. He is his own worst enemy. He's a hypocrite. Alright? Those people who complain about that shit are the same types of people who always go on about drama, okay? They just want to make out that they're dead serious when they're not. So I'm just talking to Bear because I told him about that guy. What a strange person. Not Irate Bear, the other guy. I've never watched Drags, even though I'm subbed. I should watch him to kind of see what he actually says, but I know this is hypocritical. But his videos are always like an hour to 50 minutes long, and it's like, do I have that time to go through somebody's back catalogue? I don't. Conjuring forever. I can't tell if that was autocorrect or you actually calling that. Conjuring forever is his name now, guys. It is decided. Conjuring forever. That's a good one. Unintentional, but it was a good one. But you know, at least I'm honest about drama and shit. At least I give you my honest opinion on it and how I view it. Like, honestly, I think drama can be a service to people because it points out who are the worst individuals in many ways. Whether it's somebody causing a drama or being exposed in one. Like, in many ways, it kind of echoes what Malcolm Tucker said in in The Thick of It. Leaks are important because the government and things get too bloated. So you have a leak and it drains it. I'm paraphrasing it badly, but that's what he said. Let's see if I can find that, just so you guys can understand what I'm trying to say. Malcolm Tucker leaks. Oh God, is it this one on the Goulding inquiry? I don't even know. Let me just get another window capture on. This might be the wrong one, guys. You know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to show it. Fuck it. I might get flagged. But basically, try and look out for that quote. So what does he actually talk about? So say he makes a video about Angry Joe, which he did do. If he makes 10 minutes, if 10 minutes of the video is on point, what are the other 40 minutes about? Is he trying to explain shit to people? Because you can explain that in 2 minutes, you know? Like, I've been trying to put some brevity into my videos, and as a strange situation that's happened is I'm much more succinct and simple in videos where I just give my opinion. Like, I always thought the Meanwhile in Britain videos would be massive and long, but they're actually not. And yet when I do a response video, they've gotten even longer, mainly because I'm out of practice with them as well. But I do try to, you know, make them talk a bit longer, even though I personally think that people in these videos make loads of little tiny points that go unnoticed. But I don't know. Conjuring, yeah, conjuring forever. Maybe that'll be his D&D character. Oh yeah, Dishonored Wolf. I've heard of. I know him, or know of him. I think we knew each other at one point. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I know of him. He's doing very well for himself. Mind you, I think Jeremy, as much as I like his content, he definitely needs editing because he does it. It's pretty clear he doesn't like script his content. I don't script my content either, but I have to use editing to make it make sense, so it looks kind of scripted. He doesn't. He keeps all the vocal tics and shit in there, and you can see him try to make his point in his head, and it's like, I think he needs to edit that a little bit, put some jump cuts in there. I understand that jump cuts aren't well liked, but they are necessary for some people. I had a bit of a strong disagreement with Rags blaming the left for the co-opting of liberalism. There's blame to put all around for the devaluement of the term liberalism. Oh, true, but let's be fair. The only people really who have... But let's be fair, right? Let me rephrase that. The people most at blame is the left for ruining the left, because they became too extreme. Well, I happen to agree with Top Hats and Rags on that, to be fair. Like, console exclusives, they're just... What's the point? Like, most of them nowadays will end up on the PC, like Mass Effect did and things like that, and why would you intentionally limit your own audience? Makes no sense. And as you've seen, consoles for the last couple of generations have had less and less games come out, it seems. At least from what I've seen. Like, don't get me wrong, I will probably buy a PS4 for exclusives that do happen to never make it onto PC. Like, we know Red Dead Redemption 2 is not going to make it on PC if the first one hasn't, and there's a huge demand for it. Like, I'm going to have to buy one just for that. But if I'm buying a console, forking out quite a lot of wages for one thing, for one game, what's the point? I'd rather just sit here, save my money, and buy a PC game. Because at least when I buy a computer, I'm making a long-term investment that's going to last me longer than a console generation. You know what I mean? Like because I can literally upgrade this from itself into something that will last even longer. Like, I don't know. Console gaming makes no sense in this day and age. It really doesn't. But do they really drive it? Like, in Japan, it's completely dead at this point. Well, not completely dead, but it's dying. Like, they're more interested in PCs and handheld consoles. And it's pretty clear that the PC is on the rise and the console is not in the West. Because there's more games. People flock to where the games are. And yes, they will probably buy a console for an exclusive, but at the end of the day, they're not going to buy the other games, which they can get on the PC. And you can literally play a PC like a console. So, again, in the end, more people will turn to the PC again. And I think we'll see Microsoft especially move towards the PC. Because it makes perfect sense, in my opinion. I don't know. Conjuring forever. Yeah, Conjuring forever. God, I'm still laughing at that. Sorry, I'm just talking to Irate Bear again. Say some interesting things. I'm not going to say what it is, though. Oh God, I mean, I need to learn how to multitask again. I used to be able to talk while typing. So to say consoles are obsolete or will be obsolete 10 years from now. Yeah, 10 years from now, they will be obsolete. Because there's no point. There's no point in them. PC can do everything that a console can do, but better. And also, let's be fair, the games are drying up. Again, people go where the games are. That's also like a capitalist thing. It's supply and demand. There's more supply on my my big little PC here than my fucking PS. Well, at the time, my PS3 or my Xbox 360. And you know, I think handheld consoles will get bigger. You know, I think that's why Nintendo released the Switch, because I think they've realised that a proper true console is obsolete or will be obsolete. I think it's quite an interesting thing. Whoops, sorry guys. It's quite an interesting thing what they've done. But again, what's the point in releasing a console then that just looks like a handheld? Just make more Nintendo DS's. You know. I don't blame all the left either, but it's pretty clear whoever runs the show now, the SJWs, have ruined it. And to be fair, part of the blame is on us, who aren't SJWs, for allowing them to do so. Yeah, the Switch was a good call, but I still think they're better off not investing in that long term. They should just concentrate on the DS, or if they're going to invest on that, just do away with the DS and just rely on the Switch, because you can play the Switch on the go, right? Like, you can take it on the bus with you and things like that. I personally wouldn't. You might get robbed, but you know, that's what they should do, definitely. And I think eventually we'll be seeing Microsoft and Sony do the same thing, although Sony seems to be behind the times, you know, with cross-platform support. That's going to ruin the good work they did on usurping the Xbox. I think people will start buying more Xbox Ones rather than PS4s. But I don't know. I still think that the Western gaming industry needs to fix its own internal problems, as well as the fact that they're relying overwhelmingly on consoles. Like, even fucking Rome Total War has been Rome 2 Total War, not Rome Total War. Rome 2 Total War has been fucking SJWized, you know? Like, every update has added things that are a bit SJW. Like, don't get me wrong, like the new game isn't like that. It looks like the old ones. But it's pretty clear that they've been going down this fantasy route recently. They've kind of Battlefield 5'd the game before Battlefield 5 came out. Like, Attila had fucking female units in like your nomadic / Germanic tribes levies, and it's like, that didn't happen. It may have happened if these guys were on their last legs and were about to be crushed, but even like in Adrianople, when the Goths were surrounded by the Romans, they still used their men rather than their women, because these are migrating tribes, and you don't use your women if you're a migrating tribe to fight your wars, because you need them to keep things at home safe as well as to continue the tribe, you know. That's not me saying that women have no place in war, that's the historical reality. And you can see that they've been adding shit that it doesn't need to be added because it's ahistorical, you know. But they've always done that, but usually it was more for gameplay than something that looks political, which it obviously was that. I mean, there's no reason to add shit that didn't happen. Like, Zenobia, great historical character, actually should be in the game at a certain point and is in one of the DLCs, but like randos being able to be like soldiers and shit, no. Like, there's like a faction called the Kush, and they've got like, it literally looks like Wakanda now when it didn't. When I first saw them in the, I could be wrong on this, but when I first played the game, they didn't look like Wakanda. You know, they weren't female soldiers fighting Seleucids or Egyptians. You know, that just didn't happen. Kekistani is getting the best of Movie Bob on Twitter. It's Movie Bob, who cares? We shouldn't give them bricks and the idea that they represent the left. Well, the problem is they kind of do represent the left in the sense that they're the talking heads that always appear on the TV and shit like that, and they're the ones that right-wingers will use to say the left, when it's obviously not just the left, you know. But, what do I know? I find what they should be doing is very insulting. I'm a direct descendant of Attila the Hun. Well, I don't know about that, but I'll trust you on that. You're more likely to be related to Genghis, though. But yeah, like there wouldn't be female soldiers at that time in most armies. It would be like World War II. Like 1% would be used at any given time. Like, I think like the Onu in Shogun 2, what were they called? The Onabushi. I think they were real, weren't they? Yeah, they were. They were real. Bugesha, sorry, a female warrior. But again, these people were a minority. They were not like they weren't used in big numbers, and you can see that's why they're garrison units in the game and not actual. I mean, in Shogun 2, than in something you can use in open battle. And there probably were women who were leaders of clans, and that did happen, and you can see that in the game, but it's very rare that happens. And like, even in the Edo period, there was like 20 women who joined 3,000 clansmen, you know. And these people were respected people because they proved themselves and shit like that, you know. That's real. But Germanic tribes using women in levies, I just don't see that. Unless they were like, you know, on their last legs. But the thing is, like, we should criticise people like that, you know? But it's like, first you got to deal with shit in-house and then do that. I think what you're asking for is a two-front war, and you never fight a war on two fronts, Kenny. Like, one thing at a time. First, we fight the SUWs, and to the point where they can't actually group us in with them, and then we can criticise them on that when they do. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, the other games aren't like that, but if they're going to do that with Rome and Attila, because it's ancient warfare, I just, I don't know. I've like, when people like my dad, who is a fan of Total War, hasn't bought one in ages, that should tell you how low they are right now. Like, I've been watching people like Legend of Total War a lot recently. like just Let's Plays and the Talk War community. I've been getting back into that. Not like the games. I always play the games, but the community. I've not been involved in the community for years. I've been slowly getting back into it, and God, it's a depressing sight. It used to be so much better. Then Rome 2 happened. No, Empire happened, and then we had a false dawn in Shogun 2, and then, well, Rome 2 happened. The rest is history. Maybe I should make a video on Creative Assembly. I don't know. And that's the thing. I'd like to make more fucking gaming content, but I don't know. Oh, somebody from Blake 7 died. Oh well. Twitter's just fucking shit. But let's have a look. Who the hell is EVS CEO? You always tell me about these things, and I've never heard of them, and I don't know what it's about or anything. Clans were cleared from the Highlands. You know they're still there, right, Carlos? And it was only the clans that betrayed the country, right? You do know that, right? Yeah, you betrayed the country. But let's be fair, you were tricked by like some fucking idiot steward that you would be okay. It's basically the same thing that's happening to Scottish nationalists now happened to steward loyalists or rebels, as you would say, back in the day. You basically Scottish nationalists now think the EU is amazing and that they'd be better off with the EU than with the UK. Yeah, you betrayed the country. You know not all Scots are on the same side, right? You know that, right? If you betray your king, you know, the king that is legitimately your king, who are the tops? What, do you mean George the First and the Second? Again, they betrayed him because he was the king that was brought in. But you know, by this point, the Stuarts had no claim on the throne. But whatever, you know, they took up arms against their liege lord. That is betrayal. What are you talking about? Funded by the Rothschilds? They were not funded by the Rothschilds. What are you on about? That's not fucking true. A load of bollocks. What is that? But that's certainly ahistorical. What, Rothschilds, the 1700s, right? So as I know, they only became relevant in like, yeah, the Rothschild banking family was founded in 1798, long after the events of the Jacobite rebellion. Like if they were bankrolling us then, it was probably during the age of colonialism and not the Jacobite rebellion. I think you got your dates mixed up. Bloody Diana. Do you mean Princess Diana? Anyway, by the way, I needed to get back to my point. But yeah, the S&P believe that the EU is like great and amazing. Well, it's the same thing would have happened back then, only it would have been the Pope, you know, or whoever would have been the dominant Catholic power at the time. Probably France. Let's be honest. Why the hell would you want to be under the boot heels of the French? God. Because you know that's what who they were probably being armed by. The Rothy family. Oh, so you don't mean those Rothschilds, do you? Because, funnily enough, the people who I thought you were talking about are from Manchester. Isn't that funny? Scotland, I don't bloody know. What am I looking at? Rothy Mercus, is it? I don't know. Oh, that's a place. No, I'm not seeing anything here. There's a Gregory guy, but there's from Rothy May. I don't see anything here. I think you're just chatting shit. I think you've been told a bit of lies by Scottish nationalists. You guys need to like not trust anything they say and verify. Because they've been known to like change history and shit. Like fucking Braveheart. That's... Well, I can't see anything. What are you on about? Okay, well, what am I looking at? I don't know what I'm looking for. It's not coming up with anything on Google. Like... What am I looking for? It seems to me that it was more the Napoleonic Wars that they were really involved in. Like, I can't see anything that shows that they were involved in the Jacobite Rebellion. Like, I'm trying to find it now, but I really don't see anything here. If anything, they were involved in the development of Rhodesia, but I don't see anything to do with the Jacobites. Like, I really don't. There's nothing here. There's nothing. I'm looking. I'm trying to verify shit for you, mate, but there's nothing there. They are the we was kangs, but at least they actually were kings, but not in the way that they think. They taught... what? I think Turkish Jews already knew how to farm. They've been there for an awfully long time, but whatever, you know. Anyway, yeah, they are the we was kangs types, but they actually were kings at some point, but not. But as I said, not in the way that they think. Well, there were peasants in England. I'm related to them, but and Scottish peasants, funnily enough. But like, England and Scotland at one point were both run by Normans, only two rival factions of Normans. So they were using English and Scottish people, and Norman people, to fight each other for their own petty gains. That's actually the history of the British Isles. Well, I don't know if the Welsh... I don't think the Welsh had a Norman faction, but I know that the English did. I know that the Normans were also an island, but I don't know if they actually ran any of the big like states there. But in England and Scotland, yeah, like William Wallace. He's called William because he's Norman, not because he's Scottish. William is not an English or Scottish name. It's a French name, or Norse name, Norman name. So the German branch of the... Wait, so the German branch of the Rothschilds family... Hang on. I seriously think you've been fed a load of propaganda here, mate. You might need to look it up. Ruprecht, Crown Prince of Bavaria, was 1869 to 1955. He had nothing to do with Scotland. What? What's he got to do with anything? What? Who's been telling you this shit? Was it another Ruprecht? Like, I don't know. It seems like he's just the only Ruprecht. Or Rupert, as he's called. I don't know. Or have I looked... No, I didn't say they were kings. But this guy was an heir to the... He was a Crown Prince of Bavaria, who you've told me to look up. Ruprecht of Bavaria. Or do you mean Ruprecht Rothschild? Let's have a look. I don't know. I don't know. There must be somebody called that. No, nobody called that. I mean, there's a Dirty Rotten Scoundrels thing. But, no, that guy was born 100 years after the events we're talking about. I don't know what you're on about. Well, no, they're still Bavarian kings. They're still alive, you know. Nobody... There's no such thing as a French Britain. I don't know about that. What the hell is a French... I mean, unless it's a French person who's also British. But there's no thing called a French Britain. That's not a thing. I've never seen that. That's not a thing. Again, it's people who moved from France to England, but I don't think it really has much to do with the Normans. Like, no, it's not a thing on the census either. But apparently 3 million people in the UK are of French descent, which is a lot less than people think. Yeah, but you've proven nothing, Carlos. You've proven nothing. I'm looking for things and it's not saying anything. All the shit that the Rothschilds seem to have bankrolled in terms of British wars was shit after the Jacobites. They had nothing to do with Scotland, it seems. So, I don't know. It would mention it. But they were even involved in the Suez Canal. Come on, I mean... Let's have a look. So weird that they settled in Manchester and they moved to London. That's so weird. I didn't know that. Oh, of course he was a textile merchant. That makes a lot of sense. Mayer Amschel Rothschild. Wait, that's meant to be his dad, right? Yeah. But again, he was born long after that. Okay, Amschel Moses Rothschild. Getting a bit young. No. Let's have a look. Rothschilds. Clans. Scotland. Jacobite. I mean, there was a woman called Emma Rothschild who was an ardent Jacobite, but I don't think she's related to these same Rothschilds, though. Oh no, that's like somebody else. That's like a historian. Yeah, that's like somebody else completely. No, I don't see anything. And all the clans are still there, you know, right? Or some of them died. Yeah, they're all still there. Like, at least the ones that were loyal are still there. But some of them have died out. So Rutherford and the Russell, Ross, Rose, but no Rothschild, no Clan Rothy. I don't know where you've got your information, but there's nothing there. Well, there's nothing here, Carlos. There's nothing there. Absolutely nothing. You're having a mare. All right, you're dealing with somebody who knows a little bit about that topic, as in the Jacobite Rebellion. But anyway, moving on. Well, Black Lord, it's not as simple as that. Basically, modern English people descended from whoever it is invaded them and from which angle they came from. So, the further west you go, the more Celtic people are. While the further east you go, the more Germanic and Viking they are. While I would hazard a guess, the further south you go, the more Norman. Or at least the further up the social ladder you go, the more Norman they are. That's why a lot of rich English people have French names. Also, don't get confused with the Channel Islanders, who have a lot of French sounding names, because they are actually Normans. Like people like Graham Lisseau, I think, may be from the Channel Islands. He's a footballer, former footballer. I think Graham Lisseau. He's not actually French. He's like Channel Islands, I think. Yeah, Jersey. He's from Jersey. Graham Lisseau. Yeah, he's a Jerseyan boy. Who else? Who played for Southampton again? Matt Letizia, another guy. He's from, I think he's from Guernsey. Yeah, he's from Guernsey. Matt Letizia. Yeah. So, if you're from the Channel Islands, or you're related to royalty, or aristocracy, or you are of the aristocracy or royalty, you'll have a French name or even a German name. But in terms of the actual normal people, it depends where you are in the UK. It's not as clear cut as that. Well, it's not only noblemen. That's not entirely true, J. Will. That's not right at all. I've got French in me, so I wonder where that came from. Well, it says French and German, but it's probably a bit of both. The French people are barely Roman. They're not fucking Roman. You know, they're probably more German than they are Roman or Celtic at this point. Because who were the Franks? Where did they come from? They didn't come from France. They came from Germany. Oh, one of the greatest ironies of history. I love that. The French are actually Germans. Oh, I'm not Norman. I'm more black than I am Norman. No, the Channel Islanders, J.U.L. They're not actually French. They're not French. They don't sound like French people. They don't even speak proper French. They speak like a Norman variant that has pretty much split off from France at this point. It's called Guernsey French or Jersey French, but it's not really. It's not really. Like, they don't really speak that. It's actually called... No, it's actually called Guernesey. And they also speak something called Circuiers and Oranais. I mean, look, I don't speak French, alright? I didn't learn it, but it's not really French. It's like an offshoot of French, and it's probably influenced by English as well. It's just known as patois on there anyway, so... I think Jersey has their own as well. Let's have a look. No, they speak English in Jersey, and some French, at least they used to. And Genève, which I assume is their Norman language, because Norman isn't the same as French, because its roots are much more Viking, or Danish, Norwegian, whoever the original Norman was, you know. But they're not actually French. Franks are Dutch and Belgian. That's Germanic. That's still Germanic. Like, we're not talking about people who are... Because the idea of a Belgian isn't real. There is no such thing as a Belgian. You're either you're either Flemish or French in Belgium. Belgium is an artificial country. And that still means that the Franks are actually a Germanic people, because back then it was Germania, Gaul, the steppes and the nomads in like Eastern Europe, and you had the Romans, and then you had the Britons who were also Celts, but they were slightly different. The Franks were Germans, J-Will. You don't know your history. The Franks came from what was known as Germania. Charlemagne is not French. He's German or Germanic. Like, you don't realise how German they actually are. Yeah, still the Franks, but they're so Germanic, you know what I mean? It's not the same. It's not... What you're saying is what I'm saying. French Britons don't exist in the way that you say, J-Will, okay? A French Briton is somebody who's French but also British, you know? Flemish chocolate. Very nice. Don't make me hungry. I think I'll go for 15 more minutes, guys. That's it, Walloons. You know what I mean. You speak French, alright? You used to be French, okay? That's like saying like people from like Aquitaine aren't French at this point. They are, alright? We was Walloons. Well, you're still the French-speaking people, so you French. Of course you're French. Okay, you have your own language, but that's like, again, Aquitaine and shit like that. What's the actual difference between a Walloon and a French person? Not much. God, Belgium's a strange place. It's more divided than Britain. At least Scots and Irish and English and Welsh people actually have things in common. And we actually do intermarry quite a lot. What, the Walloons? I don't know about them being a leftover, but that's beyond my scope. Yeah, the Germans are descendants of Franks, as are the French. Latins, get out. I never said that the Franks are descendants of Germans. I said that the French are descendants of Franks, and so are the modern Germans. In fact, no, the Germans aren't just the descendants of Franks. They're also the Burgundians, the Lombards, the Alemanni, people like that. Razor Fist is French and Welsh. God, what a horrible combination. What, God. Jesus Christ. He's webbed feet, and he's French. Jesus. Wow. Slugs and sheep. Wow. Well, snails. What a combination. Sorry, that's my inner Anglo coming out. Well, south of Italy was invaded by the Normans, so there is that. And then they butchered the Northerners up here. But they were a German people, the Franks, though. They were Germanic. They weren't Celts. They weren't Romans. That's why I wonder why people still call the French Gallic. They're not Gallic. And the Gauls certainly weren't known for their charm. So there's that. If anyone said the phrase Gallic charm, like, I don't know, that sounds like an oxymoron in my opinion. Well, I still don't know what this whole Rothy is. All right, Carlos, you've not even explained that, and it's pretty clear it's not a thing. I've looked for it. It's not a thing. You've been miseducated. You're Walloon on your mother's side, and French. Again, there's no such thing as a French Britain. What is that? What, are you saying he's like from Brittany or something? In which case he would be a Celt? I don't know. Celtoid? Oh, mind you, has anybody seen the shit that Master Brew has gotten into? If anybody knows who Master Brew is, he's like a high Tory gang memer. And he's angered all the Veraboos. Well, not all the Veraboos. I guess there's two types of Veraboos. There's the Veraboos who are mad on the Wehrmacht of like Germany, World War II, you know, the fanboys, like, oh, there was this amazing military power that got beat, but they weren't bad, they weren't shit, even though they were shit. But, you know, if they were so good, how come they got beat? But, you know, I don't know. I digress. And then there's the Veraboos who are like the alt-right types who just love everything German, or what they think is German, and I'm just like, why? Why? This country started... Well, okay, no, it didn't start the First World War, but it was a Germanic people that did, the Austrians. So again, you can argue Germans started World War One, just not the main types of Germans. And then there was what else? Yeah, they like all the shit that they think it makes the Germans great, and like, it's weird. It's kind of like what Hitler was like, I guess. I don't know. And he's been taking the piss out of them recently, like, oh, you betrayed us, you Anglo bastard. And it's like, he was never on your side to begin with. What's the... Oh, God, he's still memeing. The Anglo-Zanzibar War was a military conflict fought between the United Kingdom and Zanzibar Sultanate. Conflict lasted 38 and 45 minutes. This isn't war, this is sport. And one of the guys on there was saying that he's like a paid shill by MI5, and I'm like, yeah, you guys have lost the plot. Yeah, Breton, that's what you mean, J-Will. That's what you mean. That's what... Finally, we've got to the root of the problem. You mean Bretons. They're not Britons. Use live chat, not top chat. That way my sick burns don't get filtered out. It's not my fault there's a delay, oh Megan. You need to be quicker. I actually didn't notice you then. Nostalgia critic is Celt and German. Well, it depends what kind of Celt he is. Could be an English Celt for all we know. It's funny how Anglos are considered separate from like everybody else, when most English people are genetically the same as they always have been. But I don't know. Scouse Hitlers lived in Toxteth. Okay, maybe. Because, I don't know, Hitler seems like quite a rare name anyway. There are a lot of people called Hitler. Great Britain to distinguish ourselves island from Brittany. You don't actually need to, because we were always called Britannia, and they weren't always called Brittany. In fact, I don't think they even had a name during the Roman times. Actually, I think they did. I think there was a province, but it wasn't called Brittany. Roman name. What was it called in Roman times? Here we are. Gallo-Roman era. Gallia Lugdunensis. That's it. That's what it was about. Of. Yeah. There's literally no need to differentiate ourselves from Brittany. We were always called Britain. They were not always called Britain. We were called Britain before they were. They were called Gallia Lugdunensis. Alright? Don't worry. That wasn't the reason. We're called Great Britain because the whole of the British Isles were at one point united under the enlightened rule of the Anglos and the Scots. Which you can never forget. It was a dual role, okay? The Scots are equally to blame for the empire as we are, yet they still tried to make themselves out to be victims. Never makes sense. Oh yeah, he probably did change his name. I think Almorica is probably the Celtic name for it, but the Roman name was Gallia Lugdunensis. A Soviet soldier named Seaman Hitler. That's got to be a troll. Make Britain great again, damn it. Exactly. Make Britain great again. Although I don't like the channel though. I was interviewed by them and they're nice, but their content doesn't really appeal to me. I think a lot of the people on there are a little bit too conspiratorial for my like. I don't know how to explain it. I love how like these Veraboos, well they're alt-right Veraboos, not the Veraboos who are just historical fanboys, but like the alt-right Veraboos, like Hitler wanted peace, right? I guess that's why he kept invading all those countries, right? I mean, he was told not to invade Poland, and he still invaded Poland, and then we declared war on him because we had a treaty with Poland. Yeah, that's the Anglos starting it. No, Anglos is in English people, Carlos. No, nothing to do with flags. No, Lugdunensis, Jay. Well, not Benensis. Never mind. Gallia Lugdunensis. Not. I don't know how you got that from me. There is, yeah. They're alright. Almorica is probably what they called themselves, but the Roman province was not called that. Fascism hasn't been tried. Give it another chance. Yeah. Mussolini, that's who we should paint our great leader on. And even though Hitler wasn't a fascist, he was a National Socialist. But there's more, I guess it's like a link, I don't know. So half English, half Chinese. Exactly, Draco Paul. Exactly. That's what I've been trying to say. Oh, there's another video that's got made unavailable. I don't know who that was though. The Temple of Mars at Corsial. Sorry, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page now. But there was a Roman fort and a settlement where I live. As well. A Moroccan Express. Don't leave Rome without it. Or leave Rome because they were going down the drain. Well, it's a flag of many different states and cities and countries. Like Georgia has a flag of St. George. Genoa does. I think I've even seen Parma or some other place like that. I think Milan may use it as well. Flag in Italy. Let's have a look. I know there's more than just Genoa. Aragon in Spain. Bologna, Padua, Genoa,
Reggio Emilia, Mantua, Vercelli, yeah, and Milan. Yeah. But they call it the Cross of St. Ambrose. But, you know. And mind you, St. Ambrose is a common saint in England as well. He only became the patron saint after the Reformation, though. It wasn't really a thing before the 1500s. Guernsey at one point as well. Montreal, New South Wales as well. Even the Indian Naval Ensign uses the St. George's flag. That's interesting. Didn't know they still use that. Yeah, loads of people have used it, you know. Apparently Philip II of France even used it. That's interesting. But I think he used a different colour. It wasn't always red. Don't be a faggot. Yeah, he was a Turk. But then again, most English people know that. We know he was Turkish, and we know we're not the only ones who use it, but it's the one most synonymous with us because, well, we were at one point the most successful country on the planet, so there is that. Romania, they consider themselves Romans. They're not fucking Roman. The Romans were in Romania for 80 years. That is in no way can you consider yourself Roman or of Roman descent. It's in their like little thingy, national anthem. We're the Romans. Like, no, you're not. The Romans were in England for 400 years. It could have been a Turk living in Armenia. You know what that area is like. I don't know. Boris Johnson. I don't think Boris or fucking Mog can make Britain great again. I don't buy it. We need better fucking politicians than that. But that's just my opinion. The Great Mosque of Feminism, This Week in Stupid. I can't watch This Week in Stupid anymore. It doesn't appeal to me. I prefer his normal videos. It was not founded by the Romans. Like, it was called Dacia back then. It's a Romance language, yeah, but that could be more to do with the fact that the Byzantines were also right next to them and spoke Greek rather than Latin, which influenced it more than, say, the actual Romans themselves, like the original Romans. They did mix with us. Of course they did. Why do you think the Romano-British was a thing? Like, the Welsh exist because of that, and again, most English people who live in the West, i.e. somebody like me, I live in the Northwest. So I am of probably Celtic stock myself. They barely did in Romania. Like that, they abandoned it after 80 years because it was strategically nightmarish to hold. Like, and even then it wasn't all of Romania. It was like a little bit in the middle. Like, if you actually see the Roman borders before they abandoned it. So like, to me, they were more influenced by the Byzantines than the actual Romans. Because by then, the Byzantines didn't even speak Latin. Could you even call them Roman by that point? They were speaking Greek. Like, a true Roman doesn't speak Greek, he speaks Latin. I mean, to what extent were the Byzantines even biologically Roman by that point? Probably not, to be fair. Probably not. Probably far more Greek than Roman by that point. Or even their own kind of ethnicity, you could argue, because it was 1,000 years after them as well. The walls within walls. They only kept out the Scots, remember that? Or the Caledonians, or Picts as they were called. I just don't buy that the Romanians and the Romans mixed that much. I really don't buy that. Yeah, but they didn't build a wall to keep the what later became the English. Yeah, I know, Byzantines, whatever. Well, I can't be arsed with the pronunciation. Yeah, exactly, Black Lord. Nothing to do with the original Roman Empire at that point. If anything, the Romanians are closer to the Greeks than they are the Romans, or any Italian. If you cross a small wall, you died. I don't know about this. I don't know about that at all. That doesn't seem like anything the Romans did. Yeah, they built the Hadrian's Wall and other walls along frontiers. No, the soldiers lived in forts, not actual Roman people. Roman people lived in cities and towns and villages. Roman soldiers lived in forts, and the other people who lived in forts would have been local businesses who could have been Roman or Celtic that grew up alongside it, and then these forts later became cities, like Manchester, for example. Although there was already a settlement there, I think they kind of merged, but Romans didn't live in forts; they lived in cities. The only Romans who lived in forts were soldiers. And I don't know about this wall rule or anything where they killed somebody who stepped over a wall. That was a myth anyway. Romulus and Remus probably didn't exist. It's far more likely that the Romans were descended from Troy, people who came over long after, during the fall of their city. That's probably far more likely, and it is a myth that they actually... That's a foundation myth as well, which is probably far more true. Yeah, I know about the myth, but it's a myth. That's not in any way historical. Romulus and Remus probably didn't exist. Is it a founding custom? I don't think it is. I've not read anything like that to suggest it was a custom. And I studied the Romans at university. Nobody said anything about that. I don't know anything about that. Small wall. I know, bloody hell. I don't know. It seems to me that whenever I tried to put this in, so let's have a look. Roman customs. I don't know. To me, it seems like walls were used just to, as border control, which makes sense. Wall. Nope. Can't see anything that shows that. Wait, where is it? No. I don't see anything. Again, that seems like a Victorian myth or something. Please don't listen to the Victorians. Walls in Rome? Latino Faliscans. I don't know about that. Rome did have walls. It does. Have you heard of the Servian Wall? What are you on about? They might not have walls now, but they did during the Roman times. Why else do you think that Hannibal couldn't take Rome? Yeah, I know about the myth, but that is not real. It's a myth. And that did not in any way influence their thing with walls. Like, Rome had walls. It had quite a few walls. Let's have a look. Rome city walls. There was the Aurelian walls, which were built later on. And there was the Servian wall, which was built to keep the Gauls out. And it was used right up until 1870, the Aurelian walls. And they're still there to this day. You can literally go have a look. Rome has walls. Just that probably it's so big now that they don't protect the whole city. Because why would you want an old Roman wall defending your city? But then again, the old Roman walls and medieval walls did really well in like the Renaissance. Surprisingly. And the Pope had a wall as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the Romans still built walls. You do know that even the original settlement had walls. Oh, original 7 settlements had walls. Like, the Servian wall was named after the 6th king. And he probably built that to get rid of the wooden ones that they had, which were much better. And the only reason why the Gauls got in was either they were let in or they snuck in. I don't know how they got in. But it's pretty clear they built it because it wasn't good enough against their Veii rivals. But like, they had walls, and they had walls for like Rome had walls for like hundreds of thousands of years. Yeah, the Vatican has walls. That's not true, Zio. They did seek and share knowledge. Like they did a lot of, they invented concrete, for example. They invented central heating, unless the Greeks beat them to it. But I'm pretty sure the Romans invented ancient, heating. They also, their sewer system, although they didn't invent the sewer system, they basically improved upon it. Like, I don't think anything was as good as that until later on in history. What else? Well, again, like, they improved upon things that people already created, or created things themselves. Like, again, in construction, the road system was the best until the Mongols. Systems of governance as well. Like, they were good at curbing, well, at least for a while anyway, good at curbing the power of individuals, almost as good as the Americans, until eventually people like Caesar found a way to game the system. But for a while it worked, you know what I mean? Like, the things that they did, like, not all the Greeks were good at seeking and sharing knowledge. Like, the Spartans were not like that. And by the time the Romans conquered them, the Greeks weren't really doing anything like that anyway. They'd stagnated. They were well in the decline. I don't know where you got that from, but that's definitely not true at all. The thing is, a lot of what the Romans and Greeks had were lost during the early medieval era. Not all of it, but some of it was. Mainly due to the fact that, a lot of the countries and situation had changed to the point that they didn't need it. It's hard to explain, but it was later, rediscovered in the Renaissance. That's why the Renaissance is called the Renaissance. And the rest is history, as they say. Well, they did pass down knowledge. It was only as things became worse for them in the 300s, let's say 200s to 400s, that passing it down became an issue. Because, in case you don't know, written sources in the later Roman era is actually worse than earlier. I don't know where you got that from, but that is definitely not true, Zio, because otherwise they wouldn't have had an empire that outlasted all Greek empires and conquered pretty much all the Greek empires. So, yeah, that's not true. That's categorically not true. That doesn't even line up with what we know of the Romans and what they've done. Yes, they adopted things, but they also created things, again, like concrete. I know it's a silly example, but they were pioneers in many things and improved upon things that others didn't even think about. So there is that. They did pass down their knowledge, and if they didn't, why else would they have had an empire for so long? The Greeks went far, but the Romans took it even farther. It's kind of what the Americans say about Britain. Like, we invented all the shit that they now take for granted, but they took it even farther. That's essentially what has happened. This is what a lot of civilizations do. People aren't actually that original. First port in France. Not really. That's not true. Yeah, we know that the Celts in France were already trading with the Celts in Britain. Now, whether or not that was during the time of the colony of Massalia, which is assume what you're talking about, Carlos, I don't know. But from what I know is the Celts had boats as well. So, yeah, I doubt they created the first port. And we know that the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians and other ancient Mediterranean races, empires, kingdoms, were already trading with the Celts well before the Greeks. So they had the capacity to trade with people across seas. Whether or not they could do it themselves, I don't know. No, Galatians were in Turkey. Carlos, the Galatians were in Turkey. But no, we're talking about like one tribe in like Yorkshire, near one of the rivers, trading with another tribe in France, or maybe Germany. I do know. No, it was France. Yeah, because they went through the Seine River. They all the way up to the sea, basically. Whichever French river goes up to the North Sea, it's that one. The Greeks certainly did not invent sex toys and porn stars. That is definitely not true. Porn has always been a thing. So, again, I don't know where you're getting this shit from, Zio. But I think we need to probably end it there. It's been a while. I need to yeah, I've been going on too long. I need to go get something to eat, guys. So anyway, it's been fun. We've had some good debates as usual. So tomorrow, hopefully, I will make a video after work. Really nervous, new job. So anyway, until next time, it's been your boy, and I'll see you later.